Okay, so I think about 3 more weeks till um, the next Switch comes out. Not to say what the problems with the Switch over here. Um, the RSS, I think it's called. It's a frame rate or whatever it is, or RFF or whatever it is. The Nintendo's been clarified it's not coming onto docked over here. Which I have to be able to say that TVs. I don't think they have the technology about the frame rate. I mean, it has to be like a lot of frames here, but I know that the screen's gonna be like 120 hertz or whatever it is here. Um, but I'm gonna be able to say that. So there's gonna be one of the things here. One of the problems, I think, one of the issues could be coming up is Joy-Con drifting because Nintendo doesn't seem to have the Joy-Con drift issue kind of fixed on the next Switch here. There's probably gonna be some third-party Joy-Cons that could be coming out that could actually have an anti-drift system here. But really, I mean, you have 8 years and you still haven't getting it about the Joy-Con drift. Um, I think I fixed it or whatever it is. Also, still is a common issue for Switch, those Joy-Cons today, and Nintendo. Enough is here. Now, I have to say, the issue of the next one is, the eShop. I mean, it's been an issue for the Switch, but certainly was a non-issue for, PC handhelds here. The Steam does get good old games, good old games, the other stores, but Nintendo seems to be laggy on the stores, and it's all these AI-generated shovelware that I think Nintendo seems to be fixing, but God knows what the store would be like here. Now, the major issue on the Switch 2 is I'm hearing that there's capping out at 2 terabytes as micro SD cards. Look, Nintendo, I have a 2 terabyte on my Switch 1. It's like 75 to 80% full. And you're going to keep it 2 terabyte cap on the next one. However, the games are going to be bigger. A lot of games are going to be like 64 gigabytes here. You're going to be fitting like maybe 20, 30 at best. And so yeah, even at 2 terabytes, the systems. I mean, this thing is going to be filled up to the brim within a year or so, and for even those new Switch players here. Um, Hopefully, Nintendo would change their tunes and release this update here because my GPD Win 4 it does accept it does accept any SD cards that you can fit in here. I mean, 2 terabytes here SD cards. So Nintendo, I mean, why don't you just make them backwards compatible so you can just put a standard SD card so I could play my Switch 1 games? But no, storage is going to be a big issue for this one because the max storage at this point, I mean, you're going to fill it up fast. Pretty fast here. I mean, by the end of this life cycle, by 8 years from now, 32 terabytes, 64, like 32, I mean, even 8 terabytes is going to be kind of like what I felt like 1 terabyte was today. I mean, there was a time, and yeah, I mean, there was a time before when 1 terabyte was a lot of space, but now, I mean, it's even reaching its point now where 1 terabyte, a 1 terabyte with PC games, I mean, you can like 7 or 8 games at most, and you're done. And it's even 2 terabytes. So yeah. Now the other now the Switch 2 today is, um, it's, I think, and yeah, and I have to say the Switch 2, because you have PC handhelds coming up online, and they're really becoming dynamically power. And plus they're open source, and so if in a couple of 3 years, I mean, the Switch, it's going to be a different battlefield today than it was 8 years ago. I mean, when the Switch 1 came out, there was no competition. I mean, and it was a revolutionary feat that you can take the console with you and convert it to a handheld. Granted, even at that point in time, it still felt like a handheld. The game still felt like handheld, and they were really gimped down. Um, and I hope Nintendo's going to need to have a Switch 2 Pro over the next 2 or 3 years to compete here. And it has to be like, and 2 or 3 years from now, I think 32 gigs is going to become the minimum standard. And with the system being 12 gigs of RAM, look, it's going to be the same old problem. I mean, third-party software is going to have to put all that work to even port it to the Switch 2. They have to, because if they have to condense the file here and even, compress the files down, and just dumb down the graphics to fit the Switch 2. Because even my GPD-Win4, which is coming out a few years ago, it can play, Final Fantasy 16 pretty good. And even that game could face challenges. Elden Ring, even Elden Ring, my GP2Win3 played it fine. So we're now finally seeing Elden Ring on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm like, yeah, that game is 3 or 4 years old. That's kind of like a lifetime of a game, because a lot of people already played it, whether it's a PS4 or PS5, and now I can finally play it on my handheld hybrid. So the big challenges in the system is the system's underpowered. And look, I have to say, I'm afraid that this system is going to suffer the same problems, It's not going to be playing third-party games well. Like just remember, 2 or 3 days down the road, those systems are going to be launched with constricts again. So we have to say, and even the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation Xbox Next here, I haven't touched my PlayStation 5 in a while. It's just been sitting on my stuff collecting dust, and I'm thinking about packing it up. So the PCs, I mean, the most threat to the Switch 2 are PCs, PC handhelds. I know Microsoft is working on an Xbox handheld. Sony's supposedly working on the PS5 handhelds. But PCs, we've had handheld hybrids for years. I mean, like even 4 or 5 years ago, when the GP2Win3 came out, and now we have the Steam Deck. So, and the Steam Deck is a handheld PC. It happens to run Steam, and now even Valve Steam is right now putting Steam as allowing us to dual boot Steam OS towards PCs, and sound like GPD-Win4 could be essentially a Steam Deck on steroids. So, yeah. And with PCs that you can choose a storefront, I think minus at this point in time, Nintendo probably should give up on their own platforms and allow us to play our games on PCs. Because that's what I'm talking about. Some people are saying out there, oh, the Switch 2 is going to put PCs to shame. I think, we had the PS3s that people says, oh, PS3 is better than PC. Yeah, like what the PCs are going to, yeah, and look what happened then. And now and look what's happening right now. Sony is going to be porting stuff to PCs now. I hope that Dreams comes out in PCs, because, I mean, And the other thing about PCs, it's backwards compatible. I mean, the Xbox 360 says, oh, the next generation backwards compatibility. That's where Nintendo excels at, on the generation downward. But with PCs being backwards compatible, I mean, try running Super Mario Brothers on your, well, you can via online thing here. But PCs, you can, buy them. You can, and you can find them like along the we're here. So I think the Switch is going to have an uphill battle, not for PlayStation or Microsoft, but PCs. So yeah,